Hey, it's Adele from Let's Get Inkie, and today I'm working in my Dina Weekly Media Journal, and we're working on one of these pages that I find a bit tricky, which is a canvas page and a normal white paper type page. And I'm on a previous project, I'd had some extra blue paint, and my art journal was sitting next to me, so I just kind of slapped it all over the background of this page. And so I thought today it was a good opportunity to finish it off, because I like to try and finish these pages that I start as quick as I can before I get sick of them and then not want to do any more. So I'm using this star stencil. I'm sorry, I don't know where any of my stencils are from or what brands they are, but there's lots of star stencils. It's a generic shape. There's lots of star stencils out there if you're searching for them online. And I'm using some dilutions paints. I think this is the London blue color, and I'd previously, I think I'd just finished a project where I'd use this London blue over the top of this midnight blue, the darker color, and I'd never thought to put those two on top of each other, never. And I loved the way they look, so I just definitely wanted to try that with this layout. And so my plan is, well, it fails a little bit, but my plan is to have some beautiful gold shooting stars across the page, spreading from one page to the other, because usually if you watch my videos, I'm a double page girl. I don't really do single pages, and I think that's what drives me a little bit crazy with this journal, is that when you are working on a page like this, they don't flow together as easily because they're two completely different surfaces to work on, which has been a really nice challenge, but it has also been a challenge. One thing I will recommend if you're working on any of the canvas or the Hessian burlap type pages, definitely put some sort of greaseproof paper or wax paper or something underneath, because stuff does go through and you don't want your pages to stick together behind it. Even if they've got stuff painted on them, just put it there anyway, because it can also still go through. I'm using some old printed tissue paper, which I don't know what brand it is. I got it many years ago, and I'm just kind of stapling that down. If you wanted the same look, you could just stamp your own images onto some white tissue paper and get the exact same effect. I'm just gluing that on with some matte gel medium, just sticking some pieces here and there and everywhere. And I'm kind of just focusing on this left-hand side. I did overlap them a little bit, but mainly focusing on the left-hand side. I've got this little paint swatch piece of a napkin that I'm going to stick up the top here. And I really love the way that it brings across that blue, the blue shades from the right side onto the left side in a smaller way. I haven't coloured the whole page blue, but there's a little touch of blue on there. So next, so this is when things start to fail a little bit. I get my stencil. Oh no, I don't, not yet. No, apparently I'm getting book pages. This is a book page from a old, some sort of weather damaged children's book, and I'm just punching out some stars. I think this punch is an EK Success one, I think, and I'm just matte gel mediuming them here, there and everywhere. And I'm figuring out where my big star stencil will go and kind of just working it around that. I really love the contrast from the book pages on the blue paper, and I think that in my next journal I might kind of recreate this page just using the punched out book page stars. I think that'll look really cool. So I'm just using, make sure when you use matte gel medium or gesso, you use not one of your good paintbrushes, because it can leave it quite cluggy. I have to give I don't look after my paintbrushes very well at all. I often leave them sitting in a glass of water for days and days. Do not do that. It can bend your paintbrushes slightly, but I figure I'm not making masterpieces, I'm just having fun, and they're surviving so far, so they're going okay. Next up, I've got this stencil and I've got this gold texture paste stuff. I'm not sure where I got it from, sorry. And I'm just spatulaing it through. Now, my problem was, behind this page is a bumpy page, and so my stencil wasn't sitting smoothly, and I could tell here. I knew when I was doing this that this wasn't going to work properly. And so what has happened, some of the texture paste has oozed under the stencil, and so when I lift it off, there's sections where the edges of the stars are very not defined very clearly, and they're smushy, and yeah, it didn't stencil that well in certain areas, especially at the top right hand side there. But I kept going, I kept persevering, even though I knew it was going to take some editing physical editing, not computer editing, after I had finished and I lifted it off. I also I knew it was going to happen, but also the stars being across the spine here, like this big giant star, yeah, that was tricky. That was tricky indeed, and I've got all this thick texture paste right in that spine, which I don't particularly want because it's just going to make it harder to close the page. So if I was repeating this, I would recommend not putting that much texture paste right into the crease of your spine, and maybe using paint instead of texture paste if the previous side is bumpy, or putting something like a book or something flat underneath the page so that you have a smoother surface to work on. I mean, it's pretty good, but up close there was a lot of flaws. And you can see me scooping out the extra texture paste here from in the center of the spine, and in the end I grabbed some silicone brushes that I've got hanging around, and they were great. This texture paste dries really quickly, but it was handy because I was able, while it was still a little bit wet, I was able to scrape some of the excess oozed out texture paste from see, there's a lot of spots that you don't realize have texture paste where they're not supposed to until you actually take a closer look at it. It doesn't look too bad, but in real person there was a lot of oozing like here. So I'll save you the boredom of watching me scrape out all of those little excess bits of texture paste. Some of them I couldn't get because it had already dried, but I decided to kind of distract the eye from my dodgy stars. Some of them are quite they look like they've been chewed by a dog. They've got some ratty edges because of all of that scraping that I just did. I decided to outline my stars and distract the eye from their flaws. Not flaws, but their unique surface areas. I'm using a Sharpie white paint pen with a fine tip, and I'm just tracing around those. And it was a bit tricky on the canvas, but I made it work. I actually went on top of the texture paste after it had dried, of course. I definitely dried everything before doing this. And then I added some of my own little drawn stars, which I think really helped make the page. It just gave it an extra element to the detail. I really find that the small little details, like the doodly bits and the the splatters and the mark making, those are the tiny bits that I enjoy the most, and I think they make the page all come together as well. So next up, I'm doing a little scripty quote and just kind of writing that willy-nilly over here, hoping that it will fit, and I managed to make it fit, which is very, very lucky, because I always worry about it when I write stuff down, because I don't plan it, because otherwise I stress out about making it perfect as to how I've planned it, and I do it wrong or I spell something wrong every single time. So I've just kind of gone with the non-planned look, and 90% of the time it works for me. So I'm sticking with it. Find what style and techniques work for you and go for it. Mine is the lazy, unplanned art journaler, and at the moment it's working, so run with it. I also outlined some of those text print page whatever we're calling them, stars, just to make them so that they could be seen. And I'm doodling around the canvas page with my food ball pen, and it didn't work that well. I kind of wish I hadn't done that, but meh, it's done now. It's okay. I'm using some hiiiii Shine, and I'm just sprinkling that here and there. I love the look of hiiiii Shine on top of dark paint like black or blue or purple or dark pink. I just think it really does pop, and it made this page look all sorts of magical. And that's the whole spread. I really love the way it turned out, even with its little mistakes along the way. You wouldn't know in the end, but I'm glad that I showed you that not every art journal page is perfect, and they don't always go in the direction that you originally planned them to be. Thanks so much for watching today, guys. Please give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. It really does help my channel out. It helps it be discovered by new inklets that like arty stuff, and it also just lets me know that you enjoy art journaling as well. And I'll see you all in the next video. Bye.